Our clock's running slow again.
Yeah.
So we need a new battery.
You ready? Ready?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'd like to invite everybody to the Delaware County Commissioners meeting. It is Monday, July 7th, 2014, and the time is 9:02. If you'd please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mr. King,
Here.
Miss Riggin,
Present.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Here.
Miss Rust, and Miss Shawn Neal.
We have no public hearings. We need approval for the June 16th, 2014.
I'll say it.
Have a motion and a second. Denise, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Miss Riggin?
Yes.
And Mr. King?
Yes. Have no presentations. We do have contracts and agreements for approval. Amorisco.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
For the record, my name is Mark Herrand. I'm the Senior Account Executive with Amorisco. I'm here today to request for approval to advertise request for proposals for financing for the energy efficiency project that we're looking to pursue here at this building and also over at the jail complex. And I'm just asking for approval to get this out. And then once we get the information, which will be about 15 working days after, we'll provide this to the commissioners along with the council members to review and determine what's the best financial options that may be available to pursue for financing.
I'll move for approval of the RFP.
Have a motion
I'll second that.
and have a second for RFP.
Can you guys speak up a
Okay.
little bit on the speakers, because
Okay.
it's hard for me to.
Miss Riggin?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have commercial industrial lease, county commissioners for the Muncie Sanitary District.
Good morning. Ed Knatzer, FC Tucker. I had left a copy for Patty last week. This is in reference to the need for the sanitary district to have a staging area and a storage area for the a project they're doing at the north end of downtown. And the sanitary district has already signed the lease with Thomas Business Machines to relocate the current employees that park in the jury parking lot. So that lease has been signed by both parties, and I'm here this morning to ask the commissioners to sign the lease, allocating the space to the sanitary district. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I believe it's 22 spots that we're
Yes.
talking about. And between the two of us, we're going to try to get a good list of who's allowed to park there, because Mr. Thomas does not want any freeloaders. So we
Part of the agreement was that the sanitary district would stripe the Thomas lot, and then someone needs to allocate parking spaces, either permit or some form of allocation of those spaces, and the employees would have a numbered parking space.
Yeah, and we do thank the sanitary for separating the sewers, because there's one that we don't have to walk by.
And it's a one-year lease, and I think if you have any questions, I'm happy to
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah, it's a good program.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second that.
A motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Denise, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Miss Riggin?
Yes.
And Mr. King?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have GTL contract. Lieutenant Johnson.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Johnson with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. What I come up here to talk to you about today is the contract between the county and Global Telelink, the vendor for the inmate telephone system. And what we're wanting to do is extend the contract with GTL for 2 years to allow them to complete the installation of the phone system that allows personal identification numbers to work on this system that's been installed. That contract extension will cost no money to the county. The interface for the telephone system and inmate medical and the inmate commissary all needs to be tied together so that this thing will work. And that interface with New World costs $20,000. And GTL has agreed to pay all of the cost of that contract in exchange for the 2-year extension of the contract.
And this contract's been renewed several years.
Yes, we've had, when I was the jail commander, 10, 14 years ago, we signed with GTL, so we've been with GTL for 14 years.
Well, just because we've been with somebody for so many years doesn't mean it's the best system. But Mark, would you like to address does this interface with our new system?
I just know that they're looking at doing video visitation over there with the sheriff's office, and I don't know if that will have any type of conflict. We'll know here in the next couple of weeks.
Mark, can
You want to stand to the
Have to
mic?
be up by the microphone.
Yeah, give your concern to see if this is a good idea.
You might want to repeat that, Mark.
Again, Mark Airbrand with Amoresco. I know that we are looking at video visitation, and that may involve with the telephone communication lines, as we had discussed in our committee meetings. And I just say, I don't know what kind of
Yeah, what kind of timeline do we have?
You know,
Your
as soon as we can get the RFP and the finance piece back, I can get you an answer within the next week.
But I'm asking
Oh,
him.
okay.
We've
What's your
been trying
deadline?
to do this for a couple years, trying to get this done, and every time, you know, something like this pops up, or, you know, somebody says we gotta do something different. But it's real imperative that we get this done. I don't see any involvement with video visitation and this having anything to do with each
Well,
other.
but they work together, that's what my, because I was thinking.
I've
we had
negotiated
telephone.
contracts with the commissary, the medical, the telephone, and everything for the last 14 years. I don't even know anything about what this gentleman's talking about. And I can't speak for the sheriff, but we've looked at different video visitation presentations, and the telephone companies do that. I don't know what he's talking about, if he's talking about, you know, doing it over the internet or doing it through the phone or what. So this is the first I've heard about this.
Sherry, if I might.
Yes,
Jeff Arnold, Delaware County Prosecutor. This contract's not only important to the jail, but it's very important to the prosecutor's office. We've been working for 2 to 3 years on trying to identify a system that would allow us to track inmate telephone calls. Right, well, and I'm gonna let Zach talk to you about that in a second, but before we had to know who an inmate was calling. So Sherry, if I was in jail and I wanted to be able to retrieve the telephone calls that you made to me, I would have to know my number, okay? That's very simplified now. It's helped us solve a murder that we've had. This is something that we needed it yesterday, okay?
Right.
So I'm not sure we're talking about oranges and apples here. Let me have Zach explain to you how the system works and how much we use it. This is Zach Gregg, one of my deputy prosecutors.
Thanks. I can tell you, in the last probably 2.5 years, 3 years, I've done a lot of work in our office as far as trying to track inmate phone calls, particularly on high-profile, serious violent cases. On one case in particular, it was the Terry Rutledge murder trial that we had not too long ago that me and Jeff tried, which was a young mother who was strangled to death and then her body was set on fire. We were preparing for trial on that, and any attorney who's dealing with a jury trial will tell you, there's never too much evidence you can take in front of a jury. We're prepping for that case, and somehow we were able to come across the phone number for Terry Rutledge's mother. I don't even recall how it is we got that. If we'd never gotten her number, we'd never would have gotten this phone call. But during a phone call, the defendant was telling his mother, trying to get her to convince one of our chief witnesses, who basically the defendant had confessed to not show up, trying to intimidate a witness. We were able to get that phone call, save that phone call, play it for the jury, and I can tell you myself, as if I had been a member of that jury, that alone would have given me enough cause to convict that individual. These phone calls are invaluable. Like Jeff said, though, we have to be able to locate the system that we have in place now. We have to be able to have that target phone number to be able to get these phone calls, to retrieve them and to save them. And we are under a time crunch too. They're only saved for 90 days in the system that we have. So it's a very big time crunch, and being able to track those target phone numbers can be next to impossible on a lot of the defendants and inmates that we have. With this new system, with them having PIN numbers, it will allow us to track basically any phone call from any inmate that we want or that we deem it's necessary or appropriate in a case. It'd be invaluable to be able to have that system in place as opposed to what we've got now.
Right, okay, thank you. Mark, could you explain your system now?
My engineer is not here today, and he knows this system inside and out, and unfortunately, he's not here, but I do understand the importance of it, and duplication, that's my only,
Well, that's what I'm
thing
saying.
is that I'm not sure, and I don't feel comfortable, saying that this will do all of these, and I don't want to interfere with what they're trying to do
But
too.
I question the revenue that the phone system's taking, if that's still,
This, the Telmate product that was proposed in all of the proposals and the committee meetings that we had, does all that. It doesn't cost anything to be installed, but it offers a lot of different things from commissary, and it was what we had the sheriff's office in the committee meetings talking about. And I know that they went to look at facilities too that utilize this system too. But like I said, I'm not here to hold up anything, but this could duplicate on some of the things that you're wanting to do. And I can't say that for sure, but just give me a little bit of time, and I hate to hold these guys up.
but your system does the same tracking, and do you keep yours longer than 90 days?
Absolutely, yeah.
And how long do you keep yours?
I can't tell you, but it's a lot longer than that because of tort claims, and that's the whole purpose of being able to have this information for extended periods of time.
I don't know if it's a problem. When AJ, or Lieutenant Johnson, approached me a few weeks ago, typically there's been a lot of elected officials and stuff throughout the years approve some contracts without coming to the commissioners meeting. They'll renew a contract, so we had the discussion, thought it would be a good point to make sure that every contract comes up here for renewal or approval. We don't have a contract with us, it's a simple renewal, but what I'll do is I'm going to make a motion that we give the sheriff authority to approve the contract, sign a renewal agreement based on the facts that he can come up with in a perfect amount of time, and also subject to Sean or Steve Murphy's approval of the agreement, and get this worked out. And that way there'll be no delay, it'll just be gathering of information, and so that's my motion.
And then we could switch maybe to the...
Right, but it should be at the sheriff's purview as far as which one he thinks that he needs to go with that type of system.
Well, yeah, I'll second that.
If I may add,
Yeah.
there are state and federal laws that tell us how much we can charge for telephone calls. So it doesn't matter if we have this guy, GTL, Securus, or whoever. We can only charge so much for telephone calls. The only thing that would change would be the amount of profit that they're willing to give up to give to us.
Right.
Right.
And I know that GTL is the largest vendor in America.
But if this new one's a better system though, that keeps it longer than 90
I've been
days.
doing it for 14 years and nobody's been able to beat it.
Well, we'll see.
I appreciate your motion.
Thank you.
That's the motion.
Yeah, have a motion second. Any further discussion? Denise, call the roll, please.
Miss Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
and Mr. King.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody, for your input.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, we'll move on to appointments. Common construction wage hearing for Westdale Community Schools. Jerry Evans.
I'll move for Jerry Evans.
Yes, I second that. Is Jerry here today?
I don't see him. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Denise, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Miss Reagan.
Yes.
And Mr. King.
Yes. And we have one more for the Muncie Sanitary, and it will be Kevin Cope.
I'll move for Kevin Cope.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Denise, call the roll.
Miss Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
and Mr. King.
Yes. We have no ordinances, second or first for reading. We do have a resolution for approval. Resolution to transfer real estate to the Muncie Sanitary District.
2014-033.
I'll move that.
Can I ask the location of that? I was trying to read this and I was having trouble with all the legal, so where's this located?
23rd.
The old, what do you call it?
It used to be the old Goodyear, Muncie paper
Oh,
processing.
okay.
Garkey.
Garkey,
Garkey.
23rd, yeah.
That's going to be a good move for us because they'll really beautify that area.
You know what's missing from this is the parcel number. And the reason I say that is because I'm working on all
I see
the
it right there.
county-owned properties, and we're dealing with each of the parcel numbers. And as far as, you know, whose name they're in and that kind of thing. And I'm not actually seeing a parcel number in
You can
this.
see that he left it off right down there.
Yeah, it's blank and,
Oh, wait.
Do you recommend it to add parcel number?
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah. Did you make a motion already, Sherry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'll second, subject to adding the parcel number.
okay,
Okay.
well, I have parcel numbers, but whether they match up with this legal, I mean, the two have to be the same, so.
I'm certain that can get done now. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's problematic.
No, she was asking me. It's fine.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Denise, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Miss Reagan.
Yes.
And Mr. King.
Yes. Next is department heads, elected officials.
I'd like to bring up something, if I may. I know we've had some informal discussion. I know you brought it up at the 911 meeting about when we merged Delaware County EMS and EMA director, we consequently eliminated a vote on the 911 board.
Yeah.
And I know we've had informal conversations about putting another person of interest on the county side, and I'd like to make a recommendation at the coroner. Generally speaking, the coroner has always had some emergency experience and has worked in public safety and is an elected official. And I think a replacement on a board, having an elected official versus an appointed official would be a direction I think we could offer to the city and see if they would be interested. So I don't know.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah. Second that.
So, yeah, so I'll make a motion that we could direct Sean to send a letter of
Interest.
interest or side agreement to add the coroner as our replacement for Liz Lundy Point.
Second that.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Denise, call the roll, please.
Miss Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Have any other comments? Mr. Jones?
Commissioner Mike Jones, President Delaware County Council. July the 1st was the date all the budgets were due. I think all but one of the budgets have been submitted. There were two rather pointed letters sent to all elected officials and department heads explaining the need to reduce what we're facing. All the budgets came in, again, with the exception of one, and I believe only two had any reductions at all, and they were small reductions. So I felt it necessary to go around and have a discussion with each, and we've done that with most elected officials, not all, just to make sure they understand what the council is facing going into next year. The reason we're doing that is simply because as we get into budget meetings, then everybody is not surprised when significant reductions will occur, because based on our income projections and expenditure projections, there's certainly a need to make some significant changes, and soon. So with that, I would ask everybody to reconsider and continue on reducing the cost as we're going to the next budget year.
I believe the commissioners, though, we have helped with your general fund, paying for some maintenance fees, and a few other things, helping out with some of the stuff with public safety to where we'll pay it out of edit and it will not come out of your general fund.
That's correct.
I do know we also have a gentleman that is going to be retiring, and we're looking into just using part-time in that position instead of full-time to help with you guys. So, I mean, we are trying to do the best that we can to help you, but we also have to look at some of our institutional care that is also rising that, you know, we can't help.
President King, you're correct in your comments. The commissioners have done a lot to help with the county finances. In fact, every elected office has done that, maybe not quite so much. Through the years, there's been a lot of reductions, there's been a lot of combining of assignments, but it is what it is. I can tell you that the council understands totally, I know I do. Each elected office holder that I've spoke with has reiterated they have a job to do. They got a public service they have to provide, they have to have the personnel and the resources to do their jobs, and we understand that. But the council, based on the revenues, we have a job to do too, and we're going to do it. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Have any other? Move on to monthly, weekly reports, weights and measures. We'll go to payment of claims in the amount of $1,271,536.22.
Move.
I'll move.
You go ahead and move. and
I'll move for approval.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second.
Keep everybody.
Further discussion? Denise, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Ms. Riggin?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Next, we'll move questions, comments, answers, any other business to be discussed.
Well, I thought our president of our fair board was going to be here. She did have an appointment early this morning. But the fair is starting this week. They're moving in today. And a lot of activity out there to support the kids this week. And I'd like to say that Wednesday, the July 16th, is the animal auction at 2 o'clock. So anybody that has any extra money due to not running for office or having to already been elected, maybe they'd like to make a nice donation to the 4-H kids. But then the rides start on the 14th. So come out and support the fair. We do have one of the best in the state and need to support it.
Have anything else?
I'll make a motion to recess.
I'll second that.
A motion to recess and a second. Denise, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Riggin?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
And Mr. King?
Yes.